Jonas Vingegaard's epic battle on Mont Ventoux, 6th place finish in Tour de France Stage 16. In a thrilling display of endurance and strategy, Jonas Vingegaard, the Danish sensation, secured a commendable 6th place in the grueling 16th stage of the Tour de France, a race that has captivated cycling enthusiasts worldwide. The Mont Ventoux, a mountain notorious for its challenging ascent, served as the backdrop for this epic showdown. Vingegaard, a 28-year-old powerhouse, relentlessly pressured Tadej Pogačar, the classification leader, in a bid to shake up the general standings. Despite their fierce rivalry, the two cycling titans crossed the finish line side by side, leaving spectators on the edge of their seats. The third week of the Tour kicked off in the vibrant city of Montpellier, where the peloton, a tightly packed group of cyclists, burst into action. The race to the breakaway was intense, with riders vying for a strategic advantage. After a blistering start, a group of over 30 cyclists, including Tadej Pogačar and Victor Campenaerts, managed to break free from the pack. As the stage progressed, the group dwindled, with the daunting Mont Ventoux looming on the horizon. 7 determined cyclists reached the base of the Mont Ventoux, ready to tackle the legendary mountain. Ben Healy and Valentin Paret-Peintre engaged in a nail-biting duel, with the Frenchman ultimately claiming victory. Meanwhile, Team Visma-Lease bike set a blistering pace, pushing the peloton to its limits. With just 8 kilometers remaining, Vingegaard unleashed a powerful attack, a move that only Pogačar could match. Vingegaard swiftly caught up with early attacker Benoot, who provided crucial support for a brief moment. After Benoot's effort, Vingegaard launched another assault. Soon after, Campenaerts was also reeled in, briefly taking the lead. In the final stretch, Vingegaard made one last daring attempt, but Pogačar held firm. The two riders finished in close proximity, their rivalry as intense as ever. "I draw immense motivation from this performance," Vingegaard shared post-race. "The team was exceptional today, giving it their all. I'm grateful for their unwavering support. Although I didn't gain any time, this performance fuels my determination. I felt incredibly strong and I'm pleased with the attacks I executed. As I've stated before, I'll continue to push until we reach Paris. Our goal was to turn today's stage into a fierce battle, and I believe we achieved that," reflected Grisha Nierman, head of racing. "The team demonstrated remarkable strength, and Jonas was truly impressive. Our strategy was to have a few riders in the breakaway, and Tadej and Victor executed it flawlessly. While we weren't able to crack Pogačar's resolve, I'm immensely proud of the team's fighting spirit. We'll maintain our aggressive approach in the upcoming Alpine stages." But here's where it gets controversial. Some argue that Vingegaard's relentless attacks could have been more effective if timed differently. What do you think? Should Vingegaard have conserved his energy for a later, decisive move, or was his aggressive strategy the right call? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Tour de France 2025, Stage 16 highlights: Paret-Peintre wins on iconic Mont Ventoux. The Tour de France, Stage 16, Mont Ventoux shines as Paret-Peintre outsprints Healy for a historic win, while Pogačar sets a new record. In a thrilling display of cycling prowess, Valentin Paret-Peintre from Soudal Quick-Step secured the first stage victory for France in this year's Tour de France on Tuesday, triumphing over Ben Healy in a nail-biting sprint at the legendary Mont Ventoux finish line. But the excitement didn't stop there. Behind the leading duo, the battle for the general classification was heating up, with Jonas Vingegaard launching multiple attacks in an effort to shake off Tadej Pogačar. However, the yellow jersey holder demonstrated remarkable resilience, responding effectively to each of Vingegaard's attempts. After approximately 80 kilometers, a significant breakaway was formed, which included Paret-Peintre. Yet, a lack of cooperation among the riders over the next 20 kilometers led to 7 cyclists breaking away from the pack. This group featured Jonas Abrahamsen, the winner of Stage 11, who was the first to cross the line at the intermediate sprint in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Flexed biceps, here we are. The 4 leaders navigate the Saint-Estève hairpin, and at Alafperlac one accelerates immediately. As the leaders approached the notorious wooded section of Ventoux, their numbers dwindled to just Julian Alaphilippe, Thymen Arendsman, the winner of Stage 14, and Enric Mas. It was Mas who surged ahead with 14 kilometers remaining. Meanwhile, the yellow jersey group was led into the forest by a lively Vismalis A bike, while Pogačar found himself notably isolated, lacking teammates as they climbed the steep ascent. At this point, the race was spread across the mountain, and with Mars extending his lead to a minute, Healy, Santiago Buitrago, and Paret-Peintre began to close in on the Spaniard. Simultaneously, Vingegaard attacked Pogačar, who matched his pace, allowing them to catch up with Tadej Pogačar, Vingegaard's teammate who had strategically positioned himself in the day's breakaway. After utilizing Pogačar's remaining energy, Vingegaard then connected with another well-placed Visma rider, Victor Campenaerts, as they reached the Chalet Renard bend. Healy, demonstrating impressive speed, closed the gap to Mars, ultimately dropping him alongside Paret-Peintre. The Frenchman launched an attack on Healy, who quickly retaliated. Meanwhile, Vingegaard continued to pressure Pogačar, but the Slovenian showed no signs of weakness. Both riders managed to surpass Iban Mayo's long-standing climbing record from the 2004 Criterium du Dauphiné by over a minute. As they approached the final bend, Healy was in the lead, but it was Paret-Peintre who claimed the stage victory. Marco Bertarello, AFP. Healy made his move as the finish line drew near, but Paret-Peintre, aided by the unexpected arrival of teammate Elon van Wilder, countered and ultimately broke free from Healy on the steep incline after the last turn, marking the most significant win of his career. Pogačar also managed to create a gap between himself and Vingegaard by a few seconds on the same stretch, with Vingegaard experiencing the embarrassment of being accidentally knocked down by a photographer after crossing the finish line. This stage, designed to deliver drama, certainly lived up to its expectations. Crown #TDF 2025. Jacob Whitehead and Tim Spires reflect on a memorable day. Paret-Peintre ends France's long wait for a stage win. The timing couldn't have been better for Paret-Peintre, who became the first French rider to win a stage in this year's Tour. He executed his final push to the finish with impeccable timing, fending off a strong challenge from Healy, a former yellow jersey holder, after an intense battle up the renowned Mont Ventoux slopes. Just 3 days after team leader Remco Evenepoel made the difficult decision to abandon the race on the Col du Tourmalet, this victory was a heartwarming moment for Soudal Quick-Step. Remarkably, Paret-Peintre had to navigate 14.5 kilometers of the grueling 15-kilometer ascent without any teammates, showcasing a true team effort. Paret-Peintre ascends Mont Ventoux on Tuesday. Marco Bertarello, AFP. The image of him nearly collapsing off his bike at the finish line, limping like someone cautiously entering a service station after a long journey, before collapsing into the arms of teammate Van Wilder, illustrated the unexpected late support from the Belgian. Throughout the final segment of the Ventoux ascent, Paret-Peintre and Healy were locked in a fierce contest, with Buitrago and Mars intermittently trying to keep pace. However, Paret-Peintre and Healy appeared significantly stronger and evenly matched, leading to a direct showdown for the finish. That was until Van Wilder, a weary remnant from the earlier breakaway, made a surprising comeback just 600 meters from the finish line. He quietly signaled his presence to Paret-Peintre, then paced both riders for a few hundred meters, giving the Frenchman essential time to regroup and prepare for his final attack after a couple of kilometers of tense, slow-paced competition, with the looming threat of Pogačar and Vingegaard in the background. Trophy Le Jour de Gloire de French at Valent 1_Paris. Relive the last kilometer and this incredible battle with Ben Healy. Did Soudal Quick-Step plan this all along? Certainly not, but whatever their strategy was, it worked flawlessly, leading to a historic victory for the 24-year-old Frenchman, aided by a brilliant assist from Van Wilder. The last climb was tough all the way. I couldn't shake off Ben Healy, Paret-Peintre shared after the stage. At 3 kilometers to go, I thought to myself, I know this last ramp, after the final bend, is extremely steep, and I believe I can win on this slope. Van Wilder receives gratitude from Paret-Peintre after the stage. Martini de Vizek, AFP via Getty Images. Tim Spires. Pogačar matches an improving Vingegaard. On this iconic climb, the stage was set for yet another chapter in a legendary sporting rivalry, which has been somewhat one-sided in 2025. However, Vingegaard delivered a performance that was worthy of their historic encounters, even if it still wasn't enough to make a dent in Pogačar's lead. This was despite a significantly improved performance from the Visma team, with Sepp Kuss, Benoot, and finally Campenaerts all stepping up to support Vingegaard up Ventoux, while Pogačar's UAE Team Emirates teammates fell off one by one. It was nearly a tactically flawless day for the Dutch squad. Vingegaard was back in full attack mode, swaying side to side as he has throughout this tour, responding to Pogačar's attacks from all directions. This swaying was a good sign. It was a dance on the pedals that indicated he was having a good day. Attacking on the lower slopes of Mont Ventoux, Vingegaard aimed to replicate what Pogačar had done to him on Hautacam last week, and what he had done to the Slovenian here in 2021, albeit in the final meters of the stage. Despite Vingegaard's best efforts, he lost another 2 seconds to Pogačar on Tuesday. Loic Venance, AFP via Getty Images. Pogačar remained glued to his wheel, grimacing, a rare sight, riding defensively and matching Vingegaard's pedal strokes, but Vingegaard pressed on. And again. Pogačar countered with a couple of attacks of his own, but neither rider could make a decisive move. Ultimately, it always felt like Pogačar had more in reserve, and this was confirmed on the final stretch, with a disappointed Vingegaard looking down as his rival crossed the line just a few meters ahead. The confirmation that Pogačar had shattered the climb's record ascent by nearly a minute only emphasized this point. Record breaker stopwatch hash. Tadej Pogačar sets the fastest time up Mont Ventoux. The previous record was 55:51 clapping hand sign. So while Pogačar didn't provide us with the iconic image of him winning in yellow on Mont Ventoux, he may have driven another nail into the coffin of Vingegaard's hopes to dethrone him in Paris on Sunday, though Vingegaard is not ready to give up just yet. I felt great today, pleased with how I performed and the attacks I attempted. Of course, I didn't gain any time today, but I found a lot of motivation, Vingegaard reflected after the stage. The team was incredible today. Everyone gave their all, showing real commitment, and everyone was performing exceptionally well. Thank you to all my teammates. Tim Spires only falls behind in the podium race. Primo Roglic is in a battle for the podium against a group of much younger riders, but he emerged as the best of the rest in the general classification. Leading his Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe teammate Florian Lipowitz by just 2 seconds, Roglic finished just over a minute behind Pogačar and Vingegaard, solidifying his young colleague's overall position. Roglic pulls Lipowitz up the mountain flexed biceps #TDF 2025. Oscar only finished 36 seconds behind, now trailing Lipowitz by 2 minutes and 1 second, while Kevin Vorkelen lost 2 minutes to the German and now appears out of contention. With 2 significant challenges in the Alps still ahead, Mont Ventoux is not a decisive moment in the race for the podium, but it certainly feels significant. Lipowitz outperformed only once again, and it increasingly seems that he will need to have a major breakdown in one of the 2 remaining mountain stages to lose his third-place position. Jacob Whitehead. A day of pilgrimage and sacrifice on the Giant of Provence. At the summit of Mont Ventoux, there is a pram. How it arrived there is a mystery. The peak is rocky, steep, and far from the nearest parking